So
will it be available in the same YouTube channel you have?
let's start the session. We can discuss all the things in at the last.
Okay.
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 So
Okay. Thank you.
let's start. Let's make it productive now. So uh, hmm. So you can come to my LinkedIn and you can go to my articles. Okay. Uh, if you now this LinkedIn has made this something very beautiful, which I see. I can directly click on articles, and then you can see there are a lot of SSJS and script and query. And from the below, you start from the below. So you'll see like this one, which I just reset yesterday. This was the first article that I read in SSJS. Okay, and this is the Salesforce documentation. Mostly from here only I create a small PPT, not a long one. And for SSS, whom I follow, basically Ivan, okay, he has a very good blog, and I like his the way of writing. Like his way of explaining, and I admire this person a lot. The other one is Jujana. Jujana's everybody calls like even Adam Smith, uh, Adam Spring, sorry, Greek, or anybody, Jojana, everybody puts her name at the top. So she is one of the most creative person when it comes to marketing cloud. Okay, and Greek, obviously I call him a guru, and whatever I've learned, I give the total credit to Greek, and his blogs are obviously for me the best motivator. Okay, and Matthews also has a lot of very good uh, this blog and all. I haven't gone through what he has written, but I like his contribution and the way he does. He's very positive, always approachable, and I like his attitude. And we used to have a lot of uh, discussions in Trailblazer. I always used to contradict him initially. So, and the last one, obviously, I didn't have any much to write nowadays in the blog. So I thought, okay, whatever I'm doing in Enablement, I'm going to prepare it and I'm going to store it in the blog as well. So whatever PPT, few modifications are there in the PPTs, but I don't know if I get a time, I can update with the latest PPT or else this will be the same. And I've stored almost 4 examples that we are trying to cover if time permits. Okay. But you people actually you should basically try with yourself. I'll always ask you to, log into your marketing cloud and try certain things. Okay? And then you'll come up with questions and then we can discuss on that. Hmm? So let's go with whatever PPT I have prepared. Hmm. Start. Let's start it. So this will not only be a small session like AMScript enablement or journeyable enablement. This is all going to be a very long sessions, and also different. Like it may be 5 to 10, 15 sessions. I don't know. It depends on how you people are getting curious, how you people are learning, and if I get that positive feedback from people, I'll continue whatever I can. Hmm. And if you people don't find it interesting, I might stop. But obviously, those people who are interested, even a single person gets interested, for that person, I'm going to continue. Hmm. So, when we talk about SSJS, right, the first two things that should always people should understand would be what is client-side JavaScript and what is server-side JavaScript. You know, so client-side, uh, I'll give my own history with client-side and server-side JavaScript. Hmm. So first, when I started my background with IT, 2010, I started with the testing, which I didn't like. Obviously, I was a topper. I was doing a lot of coding and all from 2003. I started from 2003 when I was doing Polytechnic, right? So we used to do Visual Basic and all like at that time. So first time we were using we are creating applications. Like the first start, we always start with a calculator, and then slowly we progress with web servers, like web pages, creating web pages, and then ASP came into the picture. That time, see, we used to create everything in the server, right? All those HTML pages and all will be stored in the ASP.NET servers. And whenever you used to hit uh, publish, and then you click on the button, and then it is going to redirect to the browser, and then all the controls that we have, text box, submit button, everything that was basically rendered from the server. So server used to send the data in the DOM in the web page, and then it used to get populated. And any validations, even say fill in validations, right? Mandatory check and everything that used to happen in the server. Means we used to click on submit, the data whatever they could flow back to the server, and is validates and used to send the error message. Okay. And I don't know, most of people who here, whoever have, they haven't, might not have worked in ASP.NET. So that was like a server side, but not a JavaScript. It was not a JavaScript. It was a server side programming language. Yeah. And the language that we used was C#. And slowly, as we progressed, we came to know about vanilla. What we call JavaScript was a vanilla JavaScript, right? So it has these predefined functions, methods, and all. And we understood, okay, we don't have to send all those details into server, but we can do it in the client side only. And the response time will become little faster. Like say the length is 10, we can validate in the JavaScript, write a function, get the max length of that particular data, and then show the message at that moment. Hmm. So it became little faster. But what happens is, as we progressed, whatever we were writing in JavaScript, the JavaScript became huge. And what we can do is, like, if you have a website, and if you right click and go to view source, you can see all the JavaScript that is written there, right? So the hackers, what they can do is they can manipulate that JavaScript code, and they can basically, modify your HTML. Hmm. So most of the clients always hesitated to use client-side JavaScripting because they said they have a security issue. Hmm. And slowly, then the jQuery came into picture, and jQuery had much better functionalities, much better way of basically managing all this data in the client side. Okay, and it basically uses the API. That's the CDN. We call it a CDN. In so we used to store all the libraries in the CDN, and we just need to add one URL for the jQuery and then run it. So little bit of security was there. Okay, and slowly, like as I was progressing, then I moved to ASP.NET MVC. So when MVC came into picture, uh, it basically brought a lot of another server-side JavaScript like AngularJS, React.js, Node.js, and everything. Then the evolution of that server-side JavaScripting came into the picture. Yeah. So MVC means whenever you creating a application, okay, you have different things like methods, data binding, uh, routing. Those things are binded with the ASP.NET MVC. So MVC means model, view, controller. Model is a data model. View is the web page, and controller means how to control the data and the web page. So that was it happened, and I worked in Angular JS as well. But within not even couple of years, within 1 year, when I think I remember, is 2013. I was working in Angular JS. In 2014, 2015, Angular 4 came, and they started TypeScript. They used TypeScripting here. But Angular JS is one of the powerful server-side JavaScript, where basically is designed by Google. So that security of Google is there. Hmm. And then React, Node.js, all these things are happening, right? So with JavaScript server side, Means whatever we are doing, we are sending it to the server, and from the server, it's coming back to us, right? So the response time, the traffic between the server and our web browser, there's a traffic, right? So let's say millions of people are going to a web page and doing certain activities. The server has to be busy. Hmm. And sometimes either some people have a low version of the browser, like old version and all. So some little functions did not work properly. I remember when I was doing ASP.NET, and we were heavily on JavaScript. So Mozilla used to catch a lot of data, and it never used to basically send the data to the server. Huh? So a lot of issues were there. Slowly with AngularJS, React.js, a lot of things changes, but client side is client side. Hmm. And we should always use both the things together. And what we do in SSJS, we use code resource, right? And inside the code resource, we write SSJS and manipulate few things and then add it to our web page or a cloud page. So SSJS is obviously a server side, right? And the server is the marketing cloud server that stores all the libraries and all the functions for SSJS. Going forward, Anand, so how the framework, way of like whatever I was talking about my history, it was the same. I was defining the framework. So in the client side, whenever we run, okay, all the things get executed in the web browser, either in terms of cookies or in terms of cache. Okay, so it always happens in your browser. But if you run a server side, it has to go to a web server. The server will basically receive the request and send back you the data. Hmm. Now in the client side, we are basically running with the codes, script codes, right? And the script codes are basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Hmm. In the web browser, we are not running this JavaScript, CSS, HTML. We are basically sending them the data, and then it manipulates or do modifications in the database or whatever they do. And they send back us the data. Now we bring the data and pass it into the web browser and then put it into the proper context, be it a text, be it a label, be it anything, we add it there. Okay. Now, if you write a client side, hmm, and let's say you are writing an HTML page and you are doing certain manipulation modifications, okay, with client side JavaScript, then you write script, right? And you simply close a tag and you write anything. If you click on right click, do the view source, you'll see whatever you have written in the web page, it will be also be seen in the source. So if you're writing certain securities or certain storing certain values, that can be caught. Yeah. So security issues will be there if you're writing a lot of codes and storing in the client side. For server side, whatever server side code you have written, like let's say you're writing lookup AppScript function or SSJS function, right? Any SSJS function that you're writing, if you do view source, you'll not see those code there, you know, because it's a server side. Hmm. Now, why we need client side? Obviously, for small things like say validations, required fields, or something, or showing a pop-up. Basically, initially we started with client side was to show a model pop-up. दिखने में भी अच्छा दिखता था. So that was client side. Yeah. But server side, like if you have to do some authentication or if you have to do certain data validations, we do server side. Like let's say in context of marketing cloud, let's say you want to validate a subscriber key. Hmm. Somebody clicks on a link, goes to a cloud page, and you capture the subscriber key, and you want to validate whether this subscriber key exists in all subscriber or not. Right? At that time, what you're going to do is you're going to invoke all subscribers with the search of that subscriber key and get all the details. When you're doing this, it is basically going to the server, fetching the data and sending back to you. Right? So Client side में simple. Whenever we talk about client side, it should be HTML, CSS, and the vanilla JavaScript which we use. And server side, like I gave the example of Python, Ruby, AngularJS, React.js. It's a server side of that. Okay. Of methodology, basically why we need client side. As I said, no, modal pop-ups, validations. आजकल तो like nowadays in HTML5, you have an HTML attribute that can define what kind of validations or what kind of value you are going to store. You have a text field, and inside the text field, you can say this type is a password. So whenever you type a password, it comes at a dot, 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 right? And whenever you said required is a required field, then, it will either give you an asterisk, and if you submit, and the page before sending to the server, in the client side only, it validates and says this field is required. We can show these examples, but I don't want to waste those time. But during our course, I'll show how HTML5 has added more attributes which they can validate in the client side. Server side, I said, like if you're doing authentication or you're doing database update or you're doing database validations and all, it requires server side. I don't want to go to the interpreters and all. Now we are directly moving to the server-side JavaScript. So in server-side JavaScript, basically we have this core function, platform functions. Okay, so core functions, mostly they say, okay, using the landing pages or when you're creating a marketing cloud app, use the core functions. Platform functions is similar to AppScript functions. Okay, core function and platform functions are quite similar. Okay, they don't have that much of segregation, but like whenever you want to write emails and all, like we mostly use AppScript, right? But you can write all the things in SSJS as well, and it works the similar way how it works in AppScript. Okay, and resource question is like I think this was I remember Paramita only, or when she was designing this preference page, preference center. Okay, and there was a point where she was saying that how to manipulate at the down time whenever the page is getting rendered. She want to do certain modifications, but what happens is in the when you are using SSJS, whenever the web page is loading, whenever the DOM is loading, it first hears the server, brings the data, and populates. Now, after once that is called, you can't manipulate it, right? But there are other options what you can do. Inside a DOM also, when the page is loading, you can call code resource, and from the code resource, you can hit server side, like what we did in vanilla or jQuery was using Ajax. So similar things we can do in Marketing Cloud as well, but I don't want to overburden everyone with every thoughts. Okay. Let's move next. Or analysis में क्या है? As I said, कि AppScript and platform object functions, whatever you have in SSJS, are similar. You can use it in email, you can use in automations, you can use it in Marketing Cloud applications. We'll try to see if in some other sessions to create a Marketing Cloud app. And we'll show like how that code snippets and others can be reused. I'm more with modular coding. Whenever I design certain use cases, I try to see what things can be reused. And I mostly use content blocks, and I put those content blocks into shared items so that it can be, get access to all the business units. So that is there. Okay. And obviously, if you write a very long and bulky SSJS in Cloud Pages, Cloud Page has its limitation for 2 minutes. And the OMM will basically give you an error. So writing bulky codes in SSJS is not recommended. And in automations, obviously, it has a 30 minutes timeout. So when you write an SSJS, you should always understand that it has a 30-minute time period. Okay. And the most important thing uh, about SSJS is you always have a try catch. And I love this try catch because because I love troubleshooting, and when I want to troubleshoot, I want to know what error it is what is occurred, and how I can basically handle the error. And in the catch, I always try to basically log those errors into the I create a data extension called error handling or error logging, and whatever exception that is caught, I always try to store it for troubleshooting in the future purpose. Okay. And the AK, whenever you do SSJS, I'll show you SSJS data retrieve. And whenever you have a retrieve function in Marketing Cloud, whenever you do a preview of the retrieve, it it gives you an exception. But when you send an email, it gets delivered, that retrieve function works well. But for preview, you always get an exception. Okay, there is certain uh, factors that you need to understand when you're raising SSJs for email. So better, I always adapt to AMP script. But again, I'm saying you can write whatever you can write in AMP script, you can write in SSJS even for building emails. Hmm. So in SSJS, as I said, it has a method like add, update, retrieve, and remove. Okay. And SSJS is basically, as I said, this is a server side. What is the server? Server is the .NET only, the CLR objects like what we used to do in ASP.NET. So you can safely conclude that Marketing Cloud is built on top of ASP.NET. Okay. I'm not saying 100%, but yeah, mostly it is in ASP.NET. Okay. You have code libraries. In the code library, whatever functions you're going to use, you're going to use it in the landing pages, applications, and all, right? The standard way of code libraries, it use the standard JSON, which I like the most. I don't like XML, nor I have ever tried with XML. Okay. And for JavaScript, whenever actually JavaScript was introduced, okay, it was initially was called live Java or something. Okay, is similar to the Java programming. So later it was changed to JavaScript, and I forgot the person name who basically invented JavaScript. But I give a big salute that guy. उसने पूरा वेब वेब 2.0 को पूरा इवोल्यूट डिफरेंट वे में चेंज कर दिया. So the latest in the documentation, it says the latest version of SSJS is 1.1.1, but I have sometimes write 1.1.5. Okay, but the safe part is if you write core and one, if you just write, don't give the versions, just say one, it will give you the latest version of the libraries. Like in AMScript, you have personal strings, right? So whenever we used to write uh, subscriber key underscore subscriber key underscore like email address and all, we can use it with SSJS as well with the example that I've given at the top as control field name equal to attribute name. So that way you can do the personalization in the similar way in the email. Okay. And this is my starting point, what I'm thinking of, how I'll conclude. But obviously, I don't come with the planned manner, like what I'm going to do in the session. It comes with my chain of thoughts, what I want to do. And I don't basically design saying that, okay, आज ये करेंगे, कल ये करेंगे, परसों. I don't come with that preparation. So I think मेरा PPT खत्म हो जाना चाहिए. Yeah, so I might share this PPT with you all. You can have a reference. I'll try to basically give the shared link and post it in the group. Okay. So I think this concludes the PPT. Any questions till now? How many people understood whatever I said, or it went above your head, or boring लगने लगे? ये बताओ.
Yeah,
Let me
I
stop my
have
video also क्योंकि कैमरा ऑफ करके सिगरेट जला थी. Oh, okay. Yeah, tell me.
I have a question. I
Mhm.
think I think someone else also mentioned similar question. Like when we are using SSJs, like suppose I'm
Mhm.
giving example of suppose preference center, which I did, I know. So
Mm.
so when I did it for client, I had all access there. I got access as a marketing cloud
Yeah.
administrator, and I was directly working on the on their account, not any business unit or anything. So
Mm.
that was fine. But if I am in, suppose if I am having business unit right now in my own company, I am in a business
Mm.
unit. I'm in a business unit, I think. So there, am I able to use SSJS from business unit? Because the database will be in the main account, right? The parent account.
No, I'm little confused with the question, but
Okay. Okay.
if
So
I understood it like, mhm,
mm, okay,
you,
I'm I'm
mhm,
explaining. Suppose ABC is a company. Okay,
mhm, mhm,
they got five business unit in A B C
yeah,
D. Now
mhm,
I am a user in a unit B, business unit B.
mhm, mhm.
I don't have any access in the parent account. Okay,
Okay,
so in
okay,
in this situation, but I have access in the web
mhm,
studio. I have access in the web studio. There I can create the page and everything. But if I use
mhm,
SSJ, suppose to retrieve the data, like in preference center, you know how we retrieve the
mhm,
data.
mhm,
So
mhm.
am I able to run that cloud page that time from the business unit?
I liked your question. Okay, but I was not expecting this question at the very first session. Uh,
I think I'm not
uh,
able. I just wanted to confirm.
mm, uh, I will neither deny nor say it can be done. Okay, but uh, there are ways. What I can say. See, why when you're already working in business unit two, and why you want to access data extensions from business unit that is at the parent, right?
Yeah.
So I would ask that question: why you want to store data that you want to use in business unit two? Why you don't want to use it in the same data extension? You have a same data extension. Whatever data extension or data you want to manipulate or use, you should always store in the same data extension. See, you have
Yeah,
three
shared.
way
Okay.
of data extension.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So if
One
it's
is
in,
the local.
okay.
Let me conclude first. Okay, you have local data extension. Okay, into the contact builder,
Mm,
and you have another folder called the shared data extension.
mm,
Right. So shared data extension means you're sharing across business unit. Hmm.
yeah.
Now, if everybody keeps on shared data extension, what is
Mm,
the purpose of having a local data extension?
mm,
है ना अगर उसको
mm,
access if you start accessing then there might be certain violation also है ना
mm,
now when you ask a question see I always have those kind of answers okay so let's say I have somewhere here in my blog okay so
mm,
let me say see this is my blog and here you go to SSS
mm,
and let me show you something like this one. Say
mm,
add an update row to a data extension by REST API. So you have REST API,
mm,
right?
mm,
So via REST API, what I have done here is basically I have a child business unit, okay, and I have a parent business unit. Hmm.
mm,
So let me show you something. So see this notepad. No? So
mm,
I have a parent view. First, you have to understand the architecture. If you have a proper, clear understanding of the architecture, then it's good. So let's say I have a webinar, hmm, and I have a webinar use case, and in the webinar, these are registrants uh, data extension. Okay. Now, why I have this data extension here? Because let's say I'm doing the webinar via Zoom. Hmm. So when I do with Zoom, so I can call the API of the Zoom. Okay. Zoom APIs. I can call Zoom APIs and store everything into this. So I store everything into this data extension. And from there, I'll have an automation. Okay? And let's say this automation will push data. Okay, this will push data to the shared data extension. Hmm. Based on the region. Let's say you have different regions, say EMEA, APAC, ऐसे करके. हाँ. So you have, let's say, APAC. Hmm. So for the APAC region, I'm in the shared data extension. I'm pushing whoever are from APAC. I'm pushing into the shared data extension. Okay. Now from the shared data extension, I go to the child business unit. Hmm. Now in the child business unit, uh, I'll also have another automation. Okay. And from this automation, I'll bring the data from the shared data extension. Okay. And from the shared data extension, shared, I put it into local. And then I can use it in my journey automation and other places. Yeah. Till now clear? Hmm. Now, let's say, since I'm sending invitations, let's say I have a journey, and in the journey, I'm saying webinar registration emails I'm sending from you. Okay. So whenever somebody is registering from the cloud page or some places, okay, let's say I redirect them saying that if you want to register, click here, and when somebody clicks, it redirects to a cloud page. And when somebody submits, okay, when somebody submits here, this data, rather than storing in the local one, I can directly push it to the parent. How I do it? This is the one how I can do this. Okay, so this is how there is a API. Okay, you have to give your domain. Domain means your marketing cloud domain. Okay, that is a TNAME endpoint that you have to say, and this is the API REST API URL, and this is the key means the external key of the data extension. And at one time, I can push a lot of data. So rows means multiple, right? So through this SSJS, where I'm using API call, okay, I'm using a method of put, and you need client ID, client secret also to basically call that API. We can discuss in some other sessions, but this way you can push the data without automation. Okay, like this was to be a real time. So my use case was somebody submitting uh, webinar registration, or whoever submits, it has to be pushed into the data extension, the parent, so that it gets synced with the Zoom. So for real time, I'm doing this way with SSS. But if it's not real time, I will always say go with the automation. From the automation, say push it to the shared data extension. From the shared, push it to the parent view. Okay. Now, similarly, when you have this inserting into a data extension, you also have a retrieval, but it does not retrieval does not have a REST API, but you have to go with the SOAP API. Parvita, did
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I
Okay,
understood.
so there are ways, yeah, though there are ways, but I don't want to basically uh, give this at the very first because सबको एक ही बार में समझ नहीं आए.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Any other questions?
I think Suraj is asking something that
Mhm.
if he needs, if you can see the chat, he asked that do we need admin access to write SSJS? I think yes.
No,
No?
I no. Why you need admin access?
Uh, Sorry, I already answered it. Bidisha was asking the question, so I thought to answer it in chat only.
Oh, okay, you responded to her.
Yes, Shashi.
Okay. I haven't seen this kind of a issue. Like maybe whenever you are having this API calls, okay. So you require client ID and unique client ID and the client server and the client credentials जो कहते हैं, है ना? So those credentials, if let's say they have certain restrictions that are put into place whenever you're creating the install package, then that can be an issue. But SSJS is simple. Like, do you get restrictions writing in M script? Suraj or Bidisa?
Sorry, Shishi, can you please come again?
Do you get, if you don't have admin access, are you able to write AMP script?
Not actually. We'll have to provide them the content access, or we can in roles and in
No, no,
roles.
no. Let's not go to content or other things. I'm
Mhm.
simply asking, if you are not an admin, can you write AMP script or not?
I believe yes, we can provide some additional access.
Yes, right. So yeah, so why not SSJS? Right?
Yeah,
Both are server-side scripting language.
mhm. Yeah.
Okay. And let me tell you one more thing is AMP script functions and cloud-based functions. Okay, whatever let's say you're doing uh, lookup rows or whatever. Okay, or you're doing upsert, or you're doing delete, whatever you're doing. Okay, whatever functions you're performing, this AMP script is just a wrapper. Backend is always SQL Server. Okay, so if you can do the manipulation or anything via SQL, rather not go with AMP script or SSS. Okay, so the processing will increase if you use SQL rather than doing uh, AMP script functions or SSS. Okay, next next question. Question. No. हाँ yes बोलते करो. Okay. Anybody has any questions?
Vidisha has mentioned something.
Ask her to speak. No? Why she is in mute? Yeah, Vidisha, speak.
Her audio is not working. So
Okay. Oh,
she has mentioned, I'm
what
reading,
is?
inside SSJS,
Mhm.
I was trying to retrieve BU, like business unit details, but for that
Ah,
I but for that she was not
yeah.
able
So
to.
yeah. So this was. I think you came late, right? I always ask people to come on time. So you. That's what you missed. When I was discussing here with the retrieve. Okay. So like when I was saying this, the last point, retrieve data extension or business property, the retrieve function in the email preview does not work. What you need to do, you can do a retrieve in the cloud with, it's going to work. And if you want to do a retrieve and perform a send, when you perform the send, it goes to the subscriber, it is going to work. But in the preview, it never works. What you can do, I'll always suggest people always try and catch. Okay. And in the catch, when you do the preview, it will tell you the error, why it is not getting, why your retrieve function is not working. Hope that clarifies. Okay. I'm not looking into the chat or anything. If other has anything, I'll proceed further. Okay. So I'll ask everyone that whoever joined, I don't today bad luck. Okay. I was not able to log in. I can try once again. But I don't. I have forgotten my password, or maybe I have been removed or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's not working. So I'll ask. I'll just explain today. Okay, and in the next session I can uh, get the access or whatever. I'll set my password or something, and I can show what I have discussed today. But if you people have access to Marketing Cloud, I'll ask you all to log into your Marketing Cloud account, and you people can validate and say yes or no. Is that okay? Whoever have access to Marketing Cloud. Mhm. Guys, you need to speak up. Yeah.
Yes, I have access to Marketing Cloud.
Okay. Try to log in, Sumit. Okay. And others also, if you have access, this you can delete these things after the session. If you see that you are doing something in production, I don't recommend you use the production view. But if you have any testing view or training view or your Office one, then you can try that. Okay. So uh, if I was able to show, would have been much better. If I get some credentials, somebody has a training access who can give the credential. Ping me in the WhatsApp or ping me in the Slack. Is that okay? Or okay. Anyway, I'll start with this. I have 4 examples which I've captured. Okay. I've also stored here in my blog. You can refer the blog as well. The first blog that comes at the top will also explain you a few things. I haven't explained everything. So SSJS in your email. Okay. So this is basically you're writing an SSJS in an email. And this is a visual code where I have copied the same code here. What I'm trying to do is, see, this is first syntax. Okay. Let's go one by one. So syntax, this is the syntax. Let me open another page. Oh. So anyway, you write a syntax. So it will be run at, always have to write. If it's a client side, you don't have to write. But if it's a server side, you write a server. Okay. And I also like giving another attribute as the language, which is by explicitly is a JavaScript, but you can give the language as well. Okay. So this is the syntax of how you start JavaScript. Okay. SSJS. And then the second starting point is basically you have to load the library. And to load the library, first you have to give which library you want to load. I want to load the core functions. And you just write one. It will give you the latest library that is stored in the server. Okay. Then I always recommend you to use try and catch. So you also parallelly, whoever has the access to this machine, they can try together. Okay. So these are catch. And for the catch, I'll always say you have a write function which prints the value. So write. And then you write ex the message. So whatever exception that is caught, you'll see in the output in printed format, whether you write in your email or you write it in your cloud base, you can do it anyways. Okay. So the first thing that I'll do here is this. So first line is this one. Okay. So var means I'm creating a variable. Okay. I'm giving a variable name. I'm creating a variable object, and platform recipient, the get attribute value is similar to AMP attribute value, right? So whenever we used to, those people who remember, who have come through AMP enablement, or those people have done personalization, we used to write attribute value to get the attribute value. How many people remember those function for personalization?
Yes,
I
I
know.
Yeah, I do.
Right? So here we have the get attribute value. So you can write email ATTR. So I think this is the personalization string. So if you want to see all the personalization string, so can go to Google Baba. Okay. So personalization strings marketing cloud. So if you go here, I can go for the English one. Okay. So whatever personalization strings you have for the email, yeah, these are personalization strings: XT month, XT days, days of week, year, blah blah blah. Okay, and you have the message, mobile number, short code, list name, email ID, email name. Okay, so you'll get all the personalization strings here. You can use any of the personalization string. Okay, so here, what I'll say is, and give email name. Then, if you try to just print, so what you're doing is you're writing an email, you're composing an email, HTML email, you're writing SSJS. Obviously, whatever required, that is one is the profile center, another one is the business details, right? The address of that, whatever is that you require for uh, reviewing the email. You can add those here with AMP okay, saying that I don't want to show that in the email. So I just simply added if 1 equals to 0, then it is always false. So it will not be shown in the email. So I'm just skipping this part. Okay. And then you can try to just review the email. You'll see the email name that will be printed. So I haven't printed your value, just assigning I said a member ID. So that's why I said member ID means the MID. So member ID, if I say member ID, and I have to write this member ID. So you just write member ID. And obviously semicolon is not necessary. Even without semicolon it works, but usually it looks good that, okay, this particular line is ending here. So always try to use semicolon at the end of the statement. So once you do this and try to preview in the email, you will get the MID of that particular business unit. Is anybody trying?
Shashi, I have a production environment access. I mean, I'm not sure if I can try that right now.
Oh, okay, no problem, no problem. Those who have any other access, they can try, or I'll not recommend doing in the production, otherwise somebody might escalate me. Anyway, you can try it your own in your any other access you have in the training or on a business unit. Okay. From the next session, I'll make sure that before coming to the session, I have a proper access to the business unit. Actually, I was trying yesterday; it was working fine. Somehow, I forgot the password today. So this is the member ID. Similarly, you can do for email address and other things. Anyway, I was just showing one function to retrieve the member ID, or you can do the subscriber key, right? So subscriber key and call it a subscriber key, and you can print that value as well. But this subscriber key has to be in all subscriber. If it's not added, maybe it might not show you the subscriber key. So a lot of people say that, so see, I'm trying to print the subscriber key, but it's not getting printed in the preview. So basically, you might have created a data extension and you have added a new records there, which is not added to all subscriber. So definitely, uh, it's not coming, it's not getting printed. Okay, because once you send or you add it to all subscriber, this will definitely going to work. So you can do the same thing for all the personalization strings that you have here. So this is the personalization strings. So whatever you have, you can try. You can even try job ID, batch ID, and other things as well. It will be printed. Okay, but this one was for the subject line. So through SSJS, what happens is one of the use cases which I have worked on was doing A/B testing. So in the A/B testing, we used to personalize the subject line. Okay, first we perform the A/B testing with say 5-6 different subject lines in the data extension, and after that, once whichever becomes the winner, okay, we used to retrieve the subject line and put it in the email and push, and then start sending the campaigns. So for that, what we used to do was here in line number 6, I have assigned a subject line, but I can do a lookup, okay, from the data extension and retrieve the subject line. Okay, and the another important thing is the scope of the variables. So whenever you write an AMScript variable, I have written one AMScript variable here at the subject line. Okay, this is an AMScript variable because I'm setting a value. Or what you can do in SSJS is you can get the value of an AMScript, or you can set a value to an AMScript variable. So here I'm setting a value of the subject line, and in the subject line, in the email, if you're composing an email, what you can do is give this AMScript, okay, and is equal to my, yeah, I have a Spanish keyboard, that's easier. So here I'll say there's a function called treat as content, okay? And into the content I'm writing one, the AMScript variable, okay? And I paste it here. So this will, you can paste it in your subject line, like the subject, right? In the subject, you can put this code into your subject of the email, okay? And then do the preview and test with the proper subscriber key. Then you'll see that the subscriber key, that particular email subject line will be printed, will be shown as SSJS Enablement 1. Are you following me? What I'm saying?
Yes, Shashi.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I'm trying. I was about to show, but this is how you can write an email with SSJS. Basically, this is a use case where you can use it for subject line. Okay. So dynamic subject line based on certain context, you can have if-else conditions and add it there. So for example, let's say if I have to make it little dynamic, I can say I do a lookup or something, okay, and let's say where region. So let's say person is a region or a country, subscriber country, okay? And you do a lookup and get the value. So you're directly I'm saying if this person is from Spain, then what I can do is if, and I say this one subscriber key country, okay, subscriber country equals to Spain. And I can give this in the Spanish word, right? So I can put this is a subject in Spanish. Okay. If this is in English, you can use else, and or you can use else if or something, and I can give it this on if it is in English, then I'll give it in English. Okay, I'll say okay. Spanish आता है. I don't know. The Spanish guys might clear me apart. कि तुमने अच्छा नहीं. Anyway, I don't know if BNSTS is correct or not. So this way you can personalize the AMScript as well dynamically based on certain context. Is that clear?
Yes.
Guys, you just don't sleep. You have to speak, okay? Is this clear what I'm saying till now?
Yes, Shashi. Yes, Shashi.
Yes, Shashi.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we are moving from email. Okay. Now let's go to cloud page. Okay. So what we can do is this is I'm directly jumping to WS proxy. We'll go in detail of WS proxy in some other sessions. But via this code, you can create a data extension. Okay. So I'll go line by line. Similarly, first you start with this starting tag of script, okay, and you load the library. And rather than writing a function, I'll go this to the last part. Where I'm calling a function is here. Okay, so create data extension is a function. Here I've created a function. This is a function. Okay, create data extension. It is taking 3 parameters. Why I like server-side JavaScript is basically in AMP script. I can't create my own function, right? But in SSJS, I can create my own function. So this function is not from SSJS. This is my own function that I created. Okay, so create data extension is my function. Now, I'll go from top to bottom later, but let me do this first. Okay, so I called a function, and in the function, I first gave the data extension name what I want to store. So I'm saying my data extension. This is the data extension name. Okay. So the second is what this is. This is like I'm creating a data extension name. थोड़ा सा इसका ordinals are different because I created my own function. This episode 3 is the folder name. In which folder I want to create the data extension. Okay. So I'll match this ordinals later. So the first ordinal is the data extension name. So it is understanding whether this is a customer key or like the external key, or this is the name. So I'm using the name. Okay, and this is a folder. So ordinals यहाँ पे बता दे रहा हूँ. So first is the name of the D. Okay. Second is the name. Okay. This is the attribute property name. Okay. And last one is the folder, or under which folder I want to create. I could have also done in another way. Basically, if I have to do was basically so first I will have explained, go to this folder, right? And I want to use the name property and give the data extension name. It will be the proper ordinal, which I'll modify this later. Okay, but currently I'm using this kind of ordinal. First ordinal is the name of the data extension name. Now, what happens here is in this function, create data extension, I'm using WS proxy. Okay. So when I'm using WS proxy, I need to set the object of the WS proxy. So this is the starting point for WS proxy. So I'm creating a variable called API and giving the script util the WS proxy. Again, Rahul, you can speak up rather than pinging in the WhatsApp. Oh, he said, okay. If somebody has a bad connection or something and leaving, don't ping me in WhatsApp during the session. Okay. So this is a variable that is being created for WS proxy. And basically, when you're working in the child business unit, you always give this particular set client IDs. Okay. It will basically help you in the managing in that particular business unit. So this is one of, it's not mandated, but this will help you in the long run. Okay. But when we go in details with WS proxy, I'll explain why this is required. How this top-down approach is working in WS proxy. So here, like what we did here in the subject line, we said get attribute member ID, right? So here I'm saying authenticated member ID means it's checking the MID and whether for your particular user ID, if this is authenticated, then this particular function will work properly. Okay, somebody might use client ID and secret also with the install package. You can do that way as well. Anyway, moving forward is I want to create a data extension. Okay, and to create a data extension, I want to configure the data extension. So obviously, I need a customer key, that is the external key. Okay, so here I have given GUID. So this platform function also has a GUID function, or you can simply discard this, or you can give your own external key. Okay, so let's say this is its enablement one. So this becomes the external. Okay. Now this data extension name in this function that I created my own create data extension. So this is taking the data extension name which I was supplying at the end here, my data extension. This is the first ordinal, right? So here the data extension name is coming from the first ordinal from this function. Okay. And this category ID, we need like under which folder you want to create. So we are looking at the which folder, right? So you need to give the folder prop. Okay. So this one is the folder property. Okay. And this is a folder value. So that's why the ordinal was, this name was the folder name. Okay. So I'm saying search for a name with the folder name as episode 30. So this is the name, okay, property, and this one is the folder value. So this is a key value. You can consider this as a key value pair. So कहाँ पे दिखाऊं? Like take a notepad. You have a data extension. This is the root folder. Okay. Inside the root folder, let's say you have say SSJS. I created a folder called SSJS inside the data extension. Okay. Now, what I'm giving you back, like say this create data extension is a function. Okay. So when I'm calling this function, and let's give the data extension name that I want to create, let's say SSJS implement session 1. Okay. So with this name, a data extension will be created. Where this data extension will be created, I'm saying look through the folders, go to search through the name. Okay, you can search through name, category ID, or there are a lot of ways. So I'm saying look for the property name and go to the folder name SSJS. Okay. So it will go to SSJS, and inside your SSJS, it will create a data extension. Create a data extension SSJS implement session 1. Okay. So this is how these ordinals are mentioned here. Okay. Now it went to get the category. Basically, it's fetching the category ID with the name and the folder. Is searching for the category ID. That's why I require a category ID to create a data extension. Okay. Now it fetched the folder. Now I have to give the fields. So I have a property called fields, and this is an array. Okay. So inside the array, I'm defining the attributes for that property. So I need a field called first name. The field type has to be text, and the maximum length is 50. Okay. I need a field name called last name. Field type is also text, and the max length is 80. Then I say subscriber key. Field type is also text. Okay. It's in varchar. Maximum length, I say 254, which is the maximum limit that you can use for subscriber key. You can use more, but when you use the attribute group and all, it will give a violation. So you have to make it maintain 254. And if you are using other clouds like sales service or other, it always 18 digit. So why not make it 18, right? 254. If you're using some other external sources, then 254 is the maximum where people use email address as a subscriber key. Okay. So since this is a subscriber key, I said this is a primary key. So is primary key, I said true. So since this is a primary key, the required field has to be true. Okay. And then I added another attribute called email address. So the field type is not text, is email address. And obviously email, to sending emails, we require this field. So is required equals to true. And I can set the data retention period. This is 4 days. After 4 days, it's going to delete. Okay. The row-based deletion is false. Okay, you can change it true or false. Okay, would you allow this to be do any import or not? You can do this. Delete a data extension. You have a lot of retention policies. Either you delete by a data extension, delete the record, or delete by a based on the date. All these things you can do this. You can also basically, this is not a sendable, this will be non-sendable data extension because I haven't added sendable data extension one. Okay. I'll show it in another session how you can make it sendable. So these are the properties, these are the configuration. Okay. And SSJS WS Proxy API this was the API, okay, WS Proxy API, which I created here at line number 24. Then you say create item. So it's going to create an item, an object called data extension. Okay, it created an item of data extension based on this configuration. So this configuration, it will take into consideration and create a data extension. This is the real SSJS function, create item. Okay, but this one is my own creation. This is my own function that I created. So inside this, I have added this function. Okay, and there was another function here. What I said was to find the category ID. Okay, so in the category ID, I want to find the category ID of the folder. Okay, you can basically do the right click. Okay, get the URL of the data extension, paste it in the notepad. Okay, and you'll see there is a category ID. You'll find it. You'll not see in the UI, but you can. There are other ways to get the category ID, but these are the programmatical way of getting the category ID. So for the category ID, I created another function, my own function, and I said property and value. Okay. So here, the property was, I said name. Search the folder by the name. Okay. Which has the value. I said here, the value I've added here was episode 13. Okay. So with the value 13, then you'll go and see there's a function called folder.retrieve. Right. So I think Vidisha was asking, I use some other retrieve for the BU. It was not rendering. The similar thing, if you do in email, this is not going to render, but in Cloud Page is going to work. Okay. So folder.retrieve, and I'm adding a property. Property is the name. Okay. And simple operator equals value equals to folder value. So here I hard-coded name, but you should not have a hard-coded name. You should have copied this property, the folder prop, and modified this. Okay. Before moving on, how many people are following what I'm saying?
I
सेव के
understand.
ऊपर से जा रहा है नहीं जा रहा है? Hello.
Hello.
How many people are following me what I'm saying?
Yes, Shashi, we are following.
Yeah, following.
Okay. So here, I'm doing a folder retrieve. This is a SSJS function, right? I'm not using API or anything here. Simply a SSJS function, folder.retrieve. I'm passing the property to find that particular folder called episode 13. Okay. Once it finds a folder, then I'm going to get the folder ID. So the folder ID, this is the parent ID that it gets. Okay. And from the parent ID, it goes to the subfolder and gets the ID. So find D0 ID gets the folder ID and the folder name. मिल गया? और मुझे चाहिए था क्या? Folder ID. That's the category ID. So I get the category ID. Now I'm returning this category ID. Okay. And here, when I'm doing the config, here in the category ID, I'm getting that folder ID and assigning here, passing these two variables. Okay. That's why my ordinal was like data extension name, property, and the value. So the way I'm writing the code, that way I'm making the ordinal for my function. So once this is done, and you just try and catch, and you'll see inside this folder, you will get this data extension with all these properties. Is that clear?
Yes, Shashi, can I ask
Yes,
one
sir.
question here? What will be the scenario in order to create a data extension using SSJS? And it is a one-time action. Why can't we create it manually?
You can create it manually. I'm showing it programmatically because we are doing SSJS, right?
Yeah. Okay.
What she's trying to ask, I think that what will be the scenario where we will need to use SSJS instead of just creating a data extension? Like in real life, will there be
Okay.
any scenario at all? That's what she's asking.
Okay. So one point is like, let's say you don't have access to data contact builder, right?
Right.
You don't have the access, but you have SSJS. You can do SSJS and you can create data extension without going to the contact builder,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
The other question was like Paramita was saying, like, if I have to do certain things in the parent business unit from the child, will I be able to do it or not? So WS
Okay.
proxy, it works from parent to the child, but not from child to parent. It doesn't move upwards. Okay. But in the child,
Okay.
what you can do, if you just use the set client ID, ये ID में मैंने child का value pass कर दिया, so it will basically go and do in the child.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I hope you understood why we are using SSJS to create a data extension.
Yeah.
Sometimes what
Yes.
happens is, I have given the length here, max length as 50, first name, but the last name is 80. And you're doing a query and something, then somebody said, oh no, you created the max length in the wrong way. Both should be 80 and 80. And you're going and trying to update the length and all, and data extension is not getting updated. You're trying for more than 5 times, 10 times. That happens with me sometimes. Okay. So what I do, I create a SSJS, update the data extension by SSJS, it gets updated. No issue. But if I go from the UI, sometimes it does not allow me to update. You know? So this is
Shashi,
one of the advantage.
I have a question. When you set the max length, what I know from data extension, we cannot change. I mean, we cannot decrease the max length, right? If it is 80, I cannot make it 70, but I can make it 100. I can increase the length. Can we do it from SSJS?
Yeah. Recently, that's the problem, na, Sumit. You follow me, you say a lot of respect to me, but do you go and see my articles? I think in recent articles, one of the recent article in SSJS, I said you can modify data extension. I have to remember when I did, but yeah, see, even renaming the data extension, adding additional attributes. Okay, I don't know if the max length can be increased or decreased. I have to make it sure. Okay, but here somebody had asked me that can I rename a data extension and add additional attribute? I have 10 attributes. Somebody wants to add 11 attribute, and the data is already populated in kya something. I'm not sure that you can. I'm sure that you can't change the field type once it is created. You can modify this one. These are DDL properties. Okay, but about max length, I have to cross verify. But I think you can try this one. Okay, I added additional, but I didn't modify it. I think I can modify the length. But okay, I'll take this question and I'll see if I can try it myself and then give you the answer. Okay.
Sure.
And here, what I did was update item. In our current example, I was doing create item. And here we were doing update item. So I need to see what update items data extension object can do. I can't conclude that you can modify the max length or not. Okay, anything. Any other questions for this creation of data extension? Now I have more two examples to show. No? Okay. So the first task, right? You people, see, I asked you people, I know you people are more busy than me or something. You people don't practice. You should practice. You have here in my blog, whatever I'm teaching that is in the blog. You can go there and copy paste and try something or update something, modify something, try your own and see whether that works or not. The second was to create a data extension. Okay. And third was once you create a data extension, Okay, you create a data extension, see whether it is created in the folder that you want or not. Okay, if you give a wrong folder, let's say episode 13 बोल के folder ही नहीं है, तो data extension create होगा कहाँ पे, right? So go and see whether it's created in the root folder or not. So you validate all these things. You can come up with questions and answer and help others as well. Okay. So what I've seen is if this particular like I'm doing here, what happens? I'll tell you. Here in this function, the way I've created this SSJS function, okay, I'm returning the library. So if I say episode 13, अब ये ढूंढ के तो निकाल रहा है retrieve, है ना? But it is not getting the value. So by default, this becomes 0, right? So once this becomes 0, 0 is the parent. So this becomes 0. है ना? This though I'm writing episode 13, at this particular junction, line number 35, it becomes 0 because it's returning 0 here. It's not finding that particular value. So it gets created in the parent in the root folder. So this is the advantage of writing in the function. I segregate every functions. Later also I'll take this function into code snippet, okay, and this another function into another code snippet, and I can put it in a shared item, and I can use this across all business unit. Okay. Moving to the other one, once you create a data extension, now let's say Paramita created a data extension, okay, as she doesn't have access to contact builder. Now she want to validate whether the data extension is created and what all attributes are there. So she can use a retrieve function for the data extension and see whether the data extension was created and what all fields it has. So here, the similar way, you start with this tag, load the library, use try and catch, always use try and catch for troubleshooting. Okay, so first give the DE external key name. Okay, so here I said, though I was using GUID, this was my external key. Okay, so if you use the GUID, you will not know what you have added, right? It is the function that is generating its own external key. So rather you give a proper name that will be useful for you to retrieve. So here I say this one is this enabling session 1 was my DE. Okay. At the line number 7, this is the init function, data extension dot init function, and supply the external key name. Okay, you can't give the DE name, but you have to always supply the external key name. And once you do that, you can call a function. Okay, this is the data extension init function, and then saying source D fields dot retrieve. So I'm retrieving all the fields for the data extension if that exists. And then I can do a for loop, and from the for loop, before that I created an array, okay, to store all the fields. And I'm doing a for loop, and in the for loop, I get all the fields. I'm creating an array. Okay, this is an object. This is an array. This is an object. And in the fields, I'm saying get the source field name. Okay, get the field type. If this is a field type of text, get the max length. If this is a primary key, say it is a primary key equals to true and is required equals to true. Okay, and inside the array, I am going to push that particular field. So keep on pushing whatever fields you have, and just write this function called write. Stringify is this is basically more of a JSON kind of object. It's a JSON. Okay, I'm creating a JSON object, so it will always be a key value pair. And here you do stringify and put this into the fields array. Okay, so this fields array will be stringified. The JSON will be stringified and it will be printed. So कैसे दिखाऊं कि कैसा आएगा? So this will be like ऐसा. So it will say name. So this will be first name. Okay. And then Another one, what I said, field type, you know, field type, either it will, if this first name, so this is a text, semicolon, comma, either semicolon होगा या मतलब comma होगा, that I have to confirm. It's okay, semicolon नहीं होना चाहिए, comma नहीं होना चाहिए, anyway, होगा semicolon नहीं comma, तो इसको field type, तो comma ही होना चाहिए, not semicolon. So field type text, then what is the other one? If this is text, then it will give you a max length. So max length first name was 50, I remember property. ऐसे करके it will be printed. पूरा दिखेगा. You can try this one. I think I have initially I hadn't added here. I think I've added here 4. Example 4. Yeah, you can try and see this. Okay. So you created data extension and you retrieved, and see whether all the fields that you have done is properly created or not. And the last one today is Lakshmi created a data extension, Paramita validated the data extension if everything is proper or not, and Asima wants to basically search whether that data extension is there or not. So say Lakshmi, Paramita, and Asima works in the same project, but they don't have access to the contact builder. Okay. Even Asima has the contact builder, she doesn't know where the data extension is created. So what she can do is she can call Paramita and say, what is the name of the data extension? And she says, okay, I created data extension name. This is enablement session 1. Okay. So what Asima can do is she can write SSJS. Okay. Here, what I said, this is the DE prop. Either you can use the name or the customer key, but Paramita will not, if she is using GUID, she will not know, right? So she can give you the data extension name. And she said, okay, मैंने create कर दिया था SSJS enablement session 1 with a name. So Asima can just put this name here, okay, and copy this code, just change the name, and then you get the full path, like say what will get is data extension, the full data extension, then it was on the Sasi, and the name was SSJS enablement session 1. So you'll come to know, okay, this is the root folder. Under the Sasi's folder, this data extension exists here. So once you write this, okay, this will be printed. Where this is printed, this is the year. Okay, write this dot join, and this arrow I've added here with the join. So it is keep on adding after the folder ID. So this is how this will be printed. I'm writing the print without showing it. I'm 100% sure it works. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are giving the property, okay, through which we are going to search. We are going to search with the name and the property value. So this is the name. So I'm going to give the name. If somebody knows the customer key, you can give customer key as either you have stored in the GUID, give the GUID, or as I said here, when you're creating a data extension, give the customer key with the string value. So it becomes easy also. So you can go here. So here you say customer. Instead of name, you write customer key here. And then give the customer key. It's the same. Then also it's going to work. So better, this is just to search. So it's always better to keep it the name. Okay. And what I'm doing here, again, see, Vidisha, we discussed retrieve from the first to end. So data extension, that retrieve with the property as property name, simple operator equals value equals to SSJS enablement session 1. Then again, it's going to go and get the folder ID, which is called the category ID. okay, and get the DE name, and then push the DE name into the array, okay, and just seeing if else condition थोड़ा सा लगाना है और उसको push करते रहो और return अगर नहीं मिला, if it comes to the end, push, okay, then return the path, it will just return the path, else parent folder होगा उसका ID check करेगा and it will just write it there. Is that clear? So we created a data extension, we validated whether all the attributes were present into data extension, and we also, those who just want to see whether the data extension where it was created, if you missed, right, we don't know, there's a lot of folders, we don't know where the data extension is, so we can write this function and search for the path. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, Shashi, I have a question. As you have said, the retrieve function will. My question is, the retrieve function will retrieve the output will be in the JSON array.
Always.
Okay. What will be the fields of the JSON of the?
So do one thing. Here you have this documentation. Okay. So in the documentation, you go to the retrieve function. And then from the retrieve function, you go to, let's say, if you're going to the folder, so folder retrieve, and you see here what it gives. So it just, okay, it's not saying what output it gives, but you have an object. Let's see. Object. So go to this site, okay, and go to folder, okay. So folder object, what attributes it has? Here they go: ID, name, parent ID, and value. So these are the things that will be returned when you do the retrieve. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So similarly, this is a folder. So let's say data extension. So data extension. Okay. Our data extension, it has a lot of properties, a lot of objects as well. So these are the properties of the data extension. There are so many data objects. Now you do data extension retrieve. So you go to data extension functions, data extension function retrieve. Okay. So here it has two ordinal required, sort the criteria, okay, and the boolean equals something. So both are required. So there's a retrieve function. So you add this both the ordinals, criteria, and the boolean value to authenticate the user. Yeah, this is for all accounts, means from the parent to child everywhere. The second one, true or false, means parent से भी उठाओ, child से भी उठाओ. ठीक है, उसमें जो what I said was client ID, authenticate member ID जो था, that basically helps here. We can come to that later, but anyway, when you do the data extension retrieve, and these are the properties it basically give you back. But I'm not interested in all the properties. What I was interested was, I'm doing a data extension retrieve with this criteria where the for data extension name equals to this SSJS enablement session 1. And what I'm trying to fetch only is the category ID and the name. And so if you want to validate, so you can go here. So you can see category ID, yeah, category ID, yeah, and the name. This is what I'm trying to say. You can fetch whatever is XSD, that is retrievable. Okay, but this owner, you can't retrieve this particular property, this parent property. This is partner property, so you have to call another API and see if this will be retrievable or not. So whatever is XSD likha hua, that can be retrieved for sure. This client ID, if you say try to print the client, it will not give you this client. It's not retrievable. Is that clear?
Yes, Susi.
Okay. Any other questions? No?
I have
Today
one
also I
question.
said, go on.
Okay. Okay. As you have written the somewhere the platform dot recipient dot create item. So I have seen somewhere that it platform dot function dot some another function. So what is the difference between the recipient and the function object?
Platform dot where?
I think
Tell me the function where I've written that.
Platform dot receive in the first in the subject line dot html. This one is. What is the difference between the recipient object and the function object?
Function is function. This is getting from the profile attribute. So these are if I could have opened Marketing Cloud, okay, what I'll suggest you is go to Marketing Cloud, open here, try to create an email, and in the email, you have a lot of tools. In the tools, there is a personalization string tool. You know, something like ऐसा तुम्हारा icon, how the icon look like this inside your email. If you go here, you will see something like this kind of tool you'll see in the email toolbar, right? So if you click here, then you'll see there are a lot of personalization strings that is there, like subscriber key, email address, email name, blah, blah, blah. Of course, all there will be whatever is in the profile attribute, those are also going to populate. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have seen.
So, so that we are trying to get the attribute. So you can do platform recipient retrieve value. Yeah. So whenever you have this, so this SSJS, तो यहाँ पे देखना कहीं पे recipient बोल के एक होगा. So and then you see why this recipient here, recipient function. Right?
Means
So
means these are already predefined. Only we have to use the functions.
Everything is predefined. Everything is coming from the library. So this is the recipient function. Okay. And in the recipient function, you have query the definition server-side functions allow to manipulate queries via server-side in the following ways. So this is the library. When you load, you can also call whatever functions you have here. Like it has a lot of functions, account functions, account user functions, content area, data extension, blah, 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 recipient function. Yeah? So this is one of the recipient function.
Okay, means we have to define, means we have to remember all these functions or?
अरे मेरे को याद नहीं रहता ये सब इतना कौन याद करता है सब this takes lot of memory space. Why to memorize all this? Keep this handy. Keep this particular URL handy with you. There are so many functions, so many ordinals, so many things. Why should I utilize my memory?
Okay.
दिमाग में इतना कुछ क्यों लगता है? What else?
No, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Simple से याद करो ना. Whenever I'm using simples, the way to remember is, okay, I want to print personalization string. I want to get personalization string. So what is the function? That is the function name is get attribute value. अब get attribute value के आगे पे platform recipient लिखना है. अगर नहीं लिखना है, भाई go to my blog, है ना? इतना मेमोरी क्या कर देगा? शशि का ब्लॉग में तो मिलता ही है ना. Go to my blog. कहाँ गया ये blog, है ना? Then you have this in the blog also. Go to SSJS. Okay. Just कौन सा line पे होगा? Render profile, send classification. breadcrumb में भी हो सकता है. नहीं यहाँ पे नहीं. यहाँ पे access token. हाँ. अच्छा access token में यहाँ पे लिखा है. इसने क्यों लिखा है बाद में बताएंगे. But You will find it in a lot of other places. You just say this, copy this, okay? You will see बहुत लिखा होगा बोल के तो मिल ही जाएगा. That's like marketing cloud. There will be a lot of people who has written such blogs, and you will see a lot of get attribute value, stack exchange, developer side, yeah, strawberry, क्या berry, something berry, सब जगह लिखा होगा. Okay. See, I said 1 hour. Okay, I'm stopping this. Okay, too much हो गया. This happens last time also. I said, okay, this time I'll only do 30 minutes. Again, this came back to 2 hours. कुछ क्वेश्चन है क्या? नहीं. हाँ बोलो अब कुछ. Okay, I have to stop recording. यार, मैं recording stop कर कि तुम लोग freely क्यों slow.